Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. Purport. The dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed herein in his own words. This was felt for the normal condition of the living being in the devotional service of the Lord. Unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can become fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narad Muni, his spiritual master, reached him. It is described as follows. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Garaha Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. So this chapter is entitled The Appearance of Sri Narad. Veda Vyas is expressing his dissatisfaction as it is read in the previous verses. I feel incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything required by the Vedas. He says that I have under strict disciplinary vows unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual master, the altar of sacrifice. I have abided by the rulings and have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of the Mahabharata. Still, I am dissatisfied at heart. So we can see that Veda Vyas, having performed this unparalleled service to humanity by way of presenting the Vedic literatures, by strictly following the regulated principles of devotional service, rather Vedic principles, not devotional service, Vedic principles, following the instructions of the acharyas, which means that he was near perfect in all his duties, varnashram duties. Still he was depressed. Was the cause of his depression genetic? Sometimes when people go into depression or people have some kind of suicidal tendencies, it may be even genetic. It's carried forward through the genes. That's why years ago when I was joining the ashram, devotees would sometimes inquire from the new recruits, that somebody in your family has committed suicide or something like that. And I was wondering why they asked this question, So then they said that, actually, the tendency to become depressed and to commit suicide is also kind of genetic. It's there in the blood. But we see that even that is not the case. Because in the Mahabharata it is said that Vyasam Vashishthan Aptaram Shakte Pautram Akalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidhim. Even that is not the case. Why? Because Vyasam Vashishthan Aptaram. That who is Vyasa? He is the great grandson of Vashishtha. He is coming from a great lineage. Shaktehe Pautram Akalmasham. He is the grandson of Shakti. Parasharatmajam Vande, and he is the son of Parashar. Shukatatam Taponidhim. And we can see that his son, Shukdev Goswami, such a qualified person. So, it's in the blood sometimes. But here we can see Veda Vyasa is also free from that. He's having a very, very amazing lineage. Very high birth. It's not that birth is everything, but it does have an influence on a person's thinking. Then also it is said, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave, Namo Vai Brahma Nidhaye, Vasishthaya Namo Namaha. So, Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya. That Veda Vyas is actually a Vishnu Roop. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave. And Vishnu is another form of Veda Vyas. So it is Lord Vishnu actually here. An incarnation that you may say, we were having a discussion last time that who is Veda Vyas, and devotees were showing me some quotations from Jiva Goswami's Sandarbha explaining that how Veda Vyas is actually Narayana. Well, whatever the case may be, Veda Vyas has explained, actually Garga Samhita also explains that there are different forms of incarnations, different avatars, which are 6 categories, which is very elaborately described. Whatever the case may be, whether it is Amsha, as it is explained, Amshamsho Marichiyadir Amsho Brahmadayas Tatha Kalaha Kapila Kurmadaya Avesha Bhargavadaya. Amsha Marichiyadir, there is an incarnation which comes in the category of Amsha. So who is that? Marichiyadir, Marich, etc. The great rishis, they are Marich. Amsha incarnation. Amsho Brahmadayas Tatha. Brahma is also considered an incarnation of Krishna. Amsho Brahmadayas Tatha. Kalaha Kapila Kurmadaya. Then Kala avatar is known as the Kapil and Kurma. And Avesh Bhargavadaya. Avesh incarnation is Parashuram. And there are others. Purno Nrsimha Ramascha Shveta Dvipa Dipo Harihi Vaikuntho Pitata Yagyo Naranarayana Smritaha. Purno Nrsimha Ramascha, Nrsimha Dev, Ram, Harihi in Vaikuntha. They are all the Purna avatar, complete incarnations. Finally, Gargacharya explains that Paripurna Tamah Sakshat Shri Krishno Bhagavana Swayam Asankhya Brahmandapatir Goloka Dhamni Virajate. But ultimately, Shri Krishna is a Paripurna Tamaha Sakshat. He is a complete, Paripurna. Shri Krishna Bhagavana Swayam, and he is none other than Shri Krishna. Asankhya Brahmandapati. He is the Lord of unlimited universes. And where does he live? What's his address? Golok Dhamni Virajate. And he lives in Golok. So whatever the case may be, they are all considered an incarnation of the Lord. So Veda Vyas is none other than Vishnu. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya. So can you imagine that even he is experiencing depression, dissatisfaction? I was just doing a recent research on what is the common problem in the United Kingdom. So it is said that mental depression is one of the problems in the UK. And 1 in every 4 Britisher experiences a diagnosable mental problem in 1 year, in 1 year's time. And 1 in 6, every 6 Britisher experiences depression at any given time. That means you just pick 1 in every 6 Britisher and he's having some mental problems. Dissatisfaction. So we can understand that even after having done all this, which Vedavyas has done, still he is dissatisfied. Then what to speak, how miserable the people in this world may be. How far we are from the Vedic culture. So what is the solution? What is the cause of Vedavyas' dissatisfaction? And Vedavyas himself is saying, because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and to the infallible Lord. So what can satisfy the hearts of the living entities? And the Lord also, devotional service. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Only devotional service can satisfy the heart, nothing else. So, why didn't Vedavyas then present devotional service? He has written the 4 Vedas, he has presented everything he has given, the Upanishads, he has given the Purans, except the Bhagavad Puran. He had not written the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. Why did he do that? Well, he's a preacher. Vedavyas is also a preacher, and he's trying to rope in and trying to inspire people to come to the essence, to the main thing which he wanted to present, which is devotional service. However, he was afraid that if he presented devotional service directly, people in general are not interested. That's why in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which says, Parokshavad Vedoyam Balanam Anushasanam Karma Mokshaya Karmani Vidhatte Yagadam Yatha. Parokshavad Vedoyam. Therefore, many times preachers may indirectly say something. Because, people are in different mindsets. That's why they said amongst the listeners also there are 3 kinds of people. Shrotagana, Sotagana and Sarotagana. Sotagana means those who are sleeping. Shrotagana is those who are listening. And Sarotagana are those people who are listening but they are thinking what mistakes he is making. Let me catch a fault. You see. So they are different. Like once one preacher was giving a class and a saptaha was going on and one lady was in tears. The speaker was very happy thinking that somebody has gone into ecstasy by my discussion. So at the end of the class he went and said, so Mataji, how I see that you are in tears. So the lady said, well, when I saw you speaking, I saw your shikha moving, I was reminded of the goat which I had, which died last week. He had this beard which is similar to your Shika, and I was reminded of the goat, and I started feeling so sad. And that preacher was banging his head, oh my Lord, oh my God. Where are people's minds, you see? All different kinds of audiences are sitting, listening with different natures, different attitudes, different interests, different material desires. How can a preacher, try to capture everyone's attention? Vedavyasa is a preacher. And therefore, Parokshavada Vedoyam, he did not directly give the message. And that's why he filled up the Vedas with a lot of karma kand. People are attracted to karma kand. People want a happy family life. They want nice children. They want a beautiful wife. They want a very, whatever, all the material facilities. So therefore the Vedas contain all of those things. Karma kand. Karma kand and Gyan kand. Some people also want liberation. Okay, so 95% of the Vedas he filled it up with karma kand. 5% only he gave spiritual. Karma kand is all material. 5% is only spiritual. And out of that 3%, probably even more, 4% is Jnana Kand, which means knowledge of liberation. And 1% he has put bhakti. There has to be bhakti. It is not that he did not put bhakti in Vedas. Because if the information of bhakti was not there in the Vedas, then how would you substantiate bhakti? We are not like the Buddhists who has, like Buddha, he just came up with a philosophy of his own, which is not substantiated by the Vedas. So therefore we reject Buddha philosophy, even though we know that Buddha is Vishnu. Why? Because it is not substantiated by the Vedas. So the knowledge of bhakti is there in the Vedas, but it is... So why did he do that? Parokshavada vedoyam balanam anushasanam karma mokshaya karmani vidhatti yagadam yatha balanam anushasanam. Just as sometimes parents may want to give a medicine to the child, and the child will not take the medicine directly, it's bitter or whatever, he wants to eat sweet. So what does the mother do? Mother will put the medicine inside the laddu or something, sandesh, and then give it to the child. I still remember my grandmother had done that. Every month, every 2 months, she would give me for my stomach to, clear the stomach. Children were given like that. So I hate the taste of that, and she would give me that, and so I was so intelligent that I used to, take a bite and I used to see what's inside, and I used to see the tablet. I used to quietly throw it out, and I used to eat the laddus, and I used to eat the sweet. In that sense, I was crooked in that sense. So you see, people just take what they want, and that's why Narada is coming and telling Vedavyas. Vedavyas is inquiring from Narada that why am I not happy? And Vedavyas has told him, see, you have presented all these things. You have given people sweet. People like to eat sweets. If like, for example, you come to the doctors and you have, like, for example, when you have tonsils, somebody must have undergone an operation for tonsils. So you go for a tonsil operation, and at the end of it, then doctor says you have to take some medicine. So what should I do? And doctor says you should eat ice creams. It's good. It's not even a medicine, Everybody likes ice creams. Is it not? So people, if you give sense gratification to people in the form of medicine and call it medicine, then people are just going to be addicted to that. People naturally have the inclination to gratify their senses. So you have given sense gratification in the garb of dharma. You have disguised sense gratification as dharma. So naturally what is going to happen is people are going to just be satisfied with those sub-religious principles. People will not take to the essence of devotional service. And that's why, because you have not rendered the utmost service to humanity, you are dissatisfied. And what is that service? Only when you write another literature which emphasizes devotional service. So you have written Vedas, which are 95% karma kand. So now you write Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 99% devotional service, and emphasize on that. And thus, Srimad Bhagavatam was written, and Vedavyas became satisfied. So, the solution for all the problems of the society is if we can propagate this philosophy of Srimad Bhagavatam, preach the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, read. Prabhupada said that distributing Srimad Bhagavatam will make devotees, but he said reading Srimad Bhagavatam will keep devotees. So therefore, he wrote, Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayah Gayatri Bhashya Ruposav Vedartha Paribramhitaha Ashtadasya Sahasraha Srimad Bhagavata Bhidaha. So, it is explained in Garuda Puran that Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam, that what is Srimad Bhagavatam? This 18,000 verse scripture is what? It is Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam. It is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutras. Bharatartha Vinirnayah. It is a supplement to the Mahabharata. Gayatri Bhashya Ruposav. It is also an elaboration of Gayatri mantra. Vedartha Paribramhitaha. And it is the essence of all the Vedas. So, that's why we see that in the year 1718, in Rajasthan, there were a group of devotees from the Sri Vaishnav Sampradaya. They were the Ramanandi Sampradayas, a sect of it, who were saying that these devotees, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, are not bona fide. They do not have a commentary on the Vedanta Sutras, just as we do, Sri Bhashya. They have, Ramanujacharya has written. All other Sampradayas have. But these Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are calling themselves followers of Vedic tradition, but they really do not have a commentary. And moreover, they have concocted a kind of worship. They are worshipping Radha in the altar, where in the Vedic literatures is Radha mentioned. And therefore, they went to the king and complained that they do not have the right to worship in the temples, and the worship of the temples should be handed over to us. This had become a big issue. As we know, it is a historical thing. And so the king at that time, he was a Gaudiya Vaishnav, and he was disturbed. He did not know what to do. So he comes to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he says that, you have to do something. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was very old at that time, and so he told his disciple Baldev, he had a disciple known as Baldev, he said that you must do something. So Baldev went and argued with those Ramanandi sect people, and thoroughly defeated them, smashed all their arguments, quoting Vedantas and quoting Vedas. And the Ramanandis were thoroughly destroyed, exterminated actually. But still they said, but still you do not have a commentary on the Vedas. Therefore we cannot accept you. So Baldev said, don't worry. Just give me a few days and I will come back with a commentary. And he goes to Radha Govinda temple in Rajasthan, Jaipur, and he prays to the Lord that please, oh Lord, give me direction. And Govind personally, he appeared to him and said, don't worry, I will personally explain, give you a commentary, and you just write it down. Nobody will ever refute it. And that became Govinda Bhashya, the commentary, the Gaudiya Vaishnava commentary on the Vedas, Vedanta Sutras. So therefore, So Baldev Vidyabhushan's argument was, what need is there for an explanation of the Vedanta Sutras? What need is there for a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra? And he quoted this verse, Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam, that Garuda Puran explains. Just imagine that generally one Puran may not glorify the other Purans. But it is said that all other Purans glorify Srimad Bhagavat Puran. Here in Garuda Puran it is Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is what? A natural commentary on Vedanta. And who has written it? It's none other than Veda Vyas himself. Who can be a better author? What need is there for another commentary? But if you so insist, all right, so be it. Here's another commentary. Govinda Bhashya. And that's why Srila Prabhupada has referred to Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary, Govinda Bhashya, in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, therefore this is known as the Mahapurana. Generally, Purans have 5 topics. In the Matsya Purana it is explained, Sargascha Pratisargascha Vamsho Manvantaranicha Vamshanu Charitam Cheti Puranam Panchalakshanam. That generally Purans have 5 topics. Sarga, Pratisarga, creation, secondary creation, Vamshanu Charitam, the different genealogies, the enumeration of all the Manvantaras. So these are the 5 topics of Puran. This defines a Puran if it has these 5 topics. But then it is explained that Srimad Bhagavatam does not have 5, it has 10 topics. Tatra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanamutayah manvantareshanu nirodho muktirashrayah dashamasya vishuddhartam navanam lakshanam shruti narthena chanjasa. That there are 10 subject matters in Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the Mahapurana. Mahapuran. This defines it. And that's why even here in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkaryamem Vishkritam Tachshrin Mansupathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchen Naraha. It says that Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. It is very dear to the Vaishnavas. Very dear to the Vaishnavas. And what does it contain? Puranam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsamekam Amalam Jnanam Param Giyate. It contains the topmost knowledge of the Paramahamsas. I was recently just visiting a museum. I'm just going to check it out, how they present things. So I was in the Natural History Museum in central London. And while I was just moving across, so one very aged scientist there, seeing me, he just came forward and he said, "Oh, very pleased to see you. Science is bringing all the religions together. We have all people from all different religions coming and visiting our museum. I'm very glad to have you here. We welcome you. Here we have thousands and thousands of specimens which we keep." And he was saying, we are very proud to say that we have somewhere around 5 million species of butterflies. And my Lord, and he was speaking with such enthusiasm. And I was like, wow. And he was so enthusiastic to show me, all the butterflies and all those things, the specimens, the caterpillars and everything. And I was wondering like, wow. In my mind I was thinking, how can somebody be interested in butterflies and keeping all those things? People write such big books. Prabhupada said, PhD, they do PhD on a blade of grass. PhD, such big books on a blade of grass. I remember once one devotee was saying that when he passed out of his graduation, he passed out from the premier institute in India, it's IIT, IISC. So after he did his PhD, when he was out trying to apply for PhD, the subject which he was given to do a research was how to do research on how to make a soap bubble, last for a longer time. That was his PhD research subject. And he was a devotee. By that time he was introduced to Krishna consciousness, and he was thinking, have I studied my entire life to do research on how to keep a bubble from bursting? Some rich man using his soap to satisfy his senses. I have to do my research, put all my intelligence into that. How ridiculous. And you see, the world is filled with such information. All the Google, you can find tons and tons of information. But what is that information going to do, and how is it going to help us attain liberation, get out of the cycle of birth and death? So therefore, Paramahamsam ekam amalam jnanam param giyate. This is not simply any knowledge. It's not like you're studying butterfly. You have these big books, big scientists, a lot of knowledge. That's amazing. That's great. But it is still what? It is not the amalam jnana. It's not the knowledge of liberation. It's not the knowledge of devotional service. It will not satisfy you. So that man, when he came to me, scientist, I said, sir, how do you get so much money to maintain such a big museum? And then he was explaining, Bill Gates, he gives us money. We have halls which we give out for marriages. We get money from there. And then he was saying, so then he said that, I was wondering what made him come, And he said, the museums are a very static place. And we depend on people like you who come and make it dynamic. Dynamic. So, you see, even with all those things, he was not happy. He was happy when he came to us and started talking to us. So he said, I looked for people like you with whom I can exchange. And he wanted somebody to, share that knowledge. He was like very lonely probably. So therefore, that cannot satisfy you. That knowledge cannot satisfy you. But here, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that it will really, truly do that. And it is said, Tatra jnana viraga bhakti sahitam naishkarmyam avishkritam. And how to become detached from materialistic activities. Tat shrindvan subhadan vicharana paro. And those people who, with great diligence, with great devotion, who read the Srimad Bhagavatam, he can attain pure devotional service. So therefore, we can see that Veda Vyas has done this very great service of presenting this wonderful literature. And we see that there is example in the scriptures, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, of great scholars who can quote any scripture, like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. We know the episode that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking sannyas, when he came to Jagannath Puri, he took darshan of Jagannath and he fainted. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, being the head priest there, he managed to take Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through an underground tunnel to his house. You can still see that. You must have seen it. Yeah? How many people have seen that tunnel, underground tunnel? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house in Jagannath Puri. So he took and he saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lying there. He could see that he was so effulgent. He could see that he was manifesting symptoms of ecstasy which was not seen in ordinary human beings. And he was wondering, he's the knower, he was the greatest scholar. It is said that he was studied in Mithila University, the topmost university in the world. It was not Harvard, it was not Oxford, it was not Cambridge at that time. It was Mithila University. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the top student of Mithila University, and he was such a great scholar that he studied all the subjects and duplicated it in Navadvip and made Navadvip University as the topmost. You see, and he introduced his own subjects which made it even higher. So that was his intelligence, and he knew all the Vedas, Yes, Vedanta Sutras. And here he's looking at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, exhibiting all the symptoms of an eternally liberated soul, but he still cannot conclude that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God. And he's wondering what's happened. And just at that time, Gopinath Acharya and Mukunda Datta, they all come there searching for Sriman Mahaprabhu. And they somehow find that Mahaprabhu has been taken. And they go to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. Gopinath Acharya happened to be the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya speaking with Gopinath Acharya and saying that, who is this young man, this young sannyasi? He's so effulgent. And then first they revive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by doing Sankirtan. Mahaprabhu wakes up. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya speaks to him and asks Gopinath Acharya, what is his previous ashram? Who is his father? Where has he come from? And he's such a young sannyasi. He may not be able to maintain his sannyas. You should listen to Vedanta Sutra. I will teach him sannyas. I will teach him Vedanta. I will give him sannyas in a higher order. On all those things he's saying. And Gopinath Acharya is saying, no, you do not understand. He is Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna himself. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya looks at him and says, how can you say that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna? Where in the scriptures is it said? Where in the Vedas has it been said? So then Gopinath Acharya chastises him and he said, you are a great scholar and still you have not bothered to read Srimad Bhagavatam and you have not bothered to read the Mahabharata. And he quotes Swarana Varana Hemango Varangas Chandanangadi Sannyasa Krit Kshama Shanta Nishtha Shanti Parayanam. That don't you know, Suvarna Varana Hemango in Mahabharata, the Vishnu Sahasranam contains this thing, Suvarna Varana. The Lord will appear in the Suvarna Varana in a golden form. Didn't you read Srimad Bhagavatam where it is explained, Krishna Varanam Tusha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yajne Sankirtana Prayar Jantihi Sumedasaha? You have not read this? So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya he said, okay, don't be angry. Don't be angry. We're just having a friendly discussion. He still could not understand. So Gopinath Acharya then said, you have not attained the mercy of the Lord. Not attained the mercy of the Lord. Just as you cannot understand the sun by torchlight. If you want to search in the night, if you say that I want to see the sun, so let's search the sun. You cannot go with a torch flashing your torchlight. The sun gives its own light. When the sun rises, you will be able to perceive it. Similarly, it is said in the Shastra, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Namedhaya Nabahuna Shrutena Yame Vaisha Virunute Tena Labhyas Tassaish Atma Vivrunute Tanum Syam. That you cannot understand God by simply reading the scriptures. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo, not by sitting in lectures and hearing a lot of lectures. Na medhaya, not by your intelligence, na bahuna shrutena, or by becoming great scholars. Then how do you understand the Supreme Lord? When the Lord decides that you should now understand me, and when He will give you that knowledge from within, then only can you understand Him. You have not received the mercy of the Lord, therefore you cannot understand. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, all right, relax. Don't be so excited. So then Mahaprabhu, he gets up and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is so impressed by looking at the personality of Sriman Mahaprabhu. The effulgence. He looked just like Brahman. He was impersonalist previously. And he said, okay, you are a young sannyasi. You may not be able to maintain your sannyas. I will teach you Vedanta. Mahaprabhu said, all right. You are the knower of Vedanta. You are like the spiritual master of the whole creation. I therefore accept you as my guru. Mahaprabhu was so humble. He did not think that I am God. What? You will teach me Vedanta? Are you crazy? Don't you know? I'll chop your head off with my Sudarshan Chakra. Don't you know? He could have said that. How dare you think you can teach me? You will tell me? He's just humbly said, okay, fine. Please teach me. And 7 days he sat and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was, speaking. And finally, Mahaprabhu kept quiet and he could not really appreciate so much. that Mahaprabhu was keeping quiet, and he asked Mahaprabhu, are you understanding something, what I'm saying? Mahaprabhu said, I can understand the Vedas very clearly. As you speak, the Vedas are very clear to me, like sunshine. But when you give your explanation, it is like the clouds covering the sunshine. And he was so insulted, my Lord. 7 days I spoke, and after that you're telling me that my explanations are clouding the Vedas? For a preacher, that's like a setback, yeah? Somebody says, Prabhu, what you spoke? I had a nice sleep, Prabhu. You spoke so intensely that I could not sleep like that. That's kind of an insult. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, if that is the case, then you give an explanation. And Mahaprabhu, when he explained, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had pride in his intelligence. You see, everybody has pride in something. Somebody who is intelligent, he'll have pride of his intelligence. Somebody who's a good singer will have pride of his singing. So when he meets his match, he feels humbled. Oh, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saw, oh, here he is. And he explained each and every word in 16 different explanations. That multiplied became 64 and different explanations given from. He said, none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead can have such intelligence. And then Sriman Mahaprabhu became very pleased with him and showed him his 6-handed form, Shadabhuj Roop, 2 hands of Sriman Mahaprabhu, 2 hands of Sri Krishna, 2 hands of Lord Ramchandra. And after getting the darshan, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was convinced. He became a devotee. He became a student of Srimad Bhagavatam. He became the student of Chaitanya, of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and he became a part of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that is how basically we can attain Sri Krishna. That is how we can understand Srimad Bhagavatam. When we get the affection of the devotees, when we get the grace of the Lord, you see, and that's why it is said that we should collect blessings, we should collect the love of the devotees. When devotees pray for us, when the Lord blesses us, then only we can understand the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course the best service which we can render to Srimad Bhagavatam, again, as we chant, there are offenses to be avoided. As we read Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are offenses to be avoided. So the best service that we can render is if we are careful of those offenses, and in a humble attitude, if we can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.